and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Thank you all for joining me. And I've got to say, if you didn't catch the Friday night rant this past Friday night at 8 o'clock, you missed one hell of a show. It was really incredible. We had Dr. Frank on here, and he does an excellent job of explaining the data information. These people, they call us election deniers. Well, what they are election data deniers. They are denying the data that we are digging up. And it's really sad that this is what's happening across our country, because elections are some of the most important, valued pillars of our democracy, our form of democracy, which we're a constitutional republic. And Mike Clausen, if you're watching, we are a constitutional republic. He didn't know that the last time I ran into him. He was claiming that our country was a democracy, and I had to set him straight. A lot of times you have to do that. I do have to let everyone know that we're not playing Where's 3H Tree Service today because they're way out in the boonies. And they didn't want to force you guys to have to drive out there and get into trying to find out where's 3H Tree Service today. But this show is sponsored by 3H Tree Service. You can get them at 541-294-1800. Great group of people. It's a family-owned business by the Holmans, the three Holmans, Tony, Matt, Dennis, all of them great guys. They do a lot of work. They do incredible work. And if you need to get those trees removed, 3H Tree Service is the place to go. But we're not playing 3H Tree Service. But I talked to Matt today, Matt Holman, and he said that they are going to do a special Tuesday Where's 3H Tree Service because Memorial Weekend is coming up. And of course, they don't want to work on Memorial Weekend because they want to celebrate the holiday. And as well as all of you should. I don't know if I'm going to be here or not. I had a tradition on the radio. I went on every single holiday, whether it was Thanksgiving, whether it was Christmas, no matter what holiday it was, I always went on the radio. And I had a great producer who was all into it because there wasn't much going on Christmas or Easter. And it was a way that we could kind of give our little bit to the people on those holidays. There are a lot of people at work and they want to listen to radio, or they're in their car and they're commuting, and you know how the holidays go. But I want to thank 3H Tree Service for sponsoring us. What a great group of people. Let's see. What do I got to talk about first? We're going to get Rick Coleman on here in a minute, but I got to let you know that we've been getting petition signatures. And right now, because we have moved our offices over to, I'll have to get the address for you. We have moved our offices over in the south part of Coos Bay, right next to, I'm trying to think of the Shakes and Burgers is the only thing that's coming to mind. I can't remember the coffee place that's over there, but Shakes and Burgers, we're just 2 doors down from Shakes and Burgers on the south side of town in Coos Bay. I'll have to get that address for you at some point in time. Maybe when I get Rick on here, I'll be able to get that for you. But We're not going to be there the regular hours this week at the new headquarters because we have things going on election night. And this is really cool. If you get a chance, come out on election night to the ballot bash in the Coquille Community Center. This is going on from 5 to 10 o'clock. We are ballot harvesting, but we're not doing it the way the Democrats do it. I guess kind of, sort of. They go around and collect ballots. But I had a couple of people drop off their ballot to me because they're not going to be able to make it to the event. And they said, Rob, we want to put in our ballots. So when you go over on election night to the county clerk's office from the community center, and we're going to do that about 7 o'clock. Ooh, yeah, I got to spit on my mic. Gross. We're going to do that about 7 o'clock. We plan on dumping all of those ballots in there. We're going to let the clerk know. And it's kind of our way of protesting. We want to go back to precinct voting. If you know what precinct voting is, that's when we had our county divided up into precincts. There are 18 in this county. And you would go to the precinct, which is either at the library, the precinct headquarters, and you would go there at the polling station. This is at the library. They had them at gyms for schools. Heck, they had them in some people's garages. And you would go there, and they would have a couple of voting booths, and they would check your name. They would check your ID, which is what they should do. And we would vote on election night, and it would all be over within that night or the next day. Now we have election month, where you don't know the results for the next 30 days. And it's really sad because it's just an opportunity for a lot of inappropriate things to be going on. So we're going to be kind of protesting on election night. We're going to be having a ballot bash, and we're going to be taking all of our ballots that we got here, and we got a bunch more because we got a bunch of people coming out there. And we're going to walk over around 7 o'clock, and we're going to dump them into the ballot box right there in front of the courthouse and wave to the clerk, say hi to Julie, and always be respectful. I mean, we may disagree, but I try to always be respectful. And we're going to make sure that they understand that some of us are not happy with mail-in voting because we think the system is rigged. And that's something we disagree with Julie Brecky. One of the things that we were going back and forth on is who controls the cleaning of the voter roll. Well, we believe the clerk is supposed to be in charge of it. She says she is in charge of it, but yet we find out that there's centralized voting where the state can add and take off names anytime they want, willy-nilly. So are they in control? I don't know. I think not. And Cheryl Armstrong says hi. Hi, Cheryl. Good to see you. If you have comments, please leave your comments. Please like and share if you're on one of my platforms. And by the way, I'm going to try to make sure that if you go to my website, you're able to catch this live. So you should be able to see this live. And I think I'm going to probably be doing some streaming tomorrow from this event. So if you want to come out tomorrow, Tuesday, May 19th, this is from 5 to 10 p.m., we're going to give away prizes. We got some really cool prizes to give away. We got a couple of really cool paintings that we're going to give away. We've got a couple of gift certificates, and they've got a couple of baskets that the ladies have put together. Isn't that nice? Ladies know how to do that. You're lucky that the ladies are around to do that, because if I had to put together a basket, you would get bricks and bullets. Okay, that's what would come in your basket. Maybe a little bit of silver if I was feeling nice, but that's what you would get in your gift basket. So you're damn lucky I'm not making the gift basket. Luckily, we have a bunch of lovely ladies who are making those gift baskets, and we're going to have prizes. We're going to do 50-50 raffle. We're going to have an open mic. So if you want to come out and you want to talk, get on your soapbox and tell us what your thoughts are. We're going to allow you to do that. We're going to have a couple of speakers, and we're going to have a band. We're going to have a band out there. So this is going to be really cool. We got pizza. We got sodas. The kids can come out. And by the way, you're not going to believe this, and this wasn't my idea. This was the committee, and this is what happens when you get on a committee. The Republican executive board decided that they were going to approach the county to get some mocktails. Now, I don't think the Republican Party, the county should be giving the money to the Republican parties, But the reason they're doing it is to show that it's a stupid idea, because the county just gave money to an all ages drag show prom. And we didn't want the money going to that. We didn't want our name on that, but yet they did it. So why not have it for the Republicans? I'm opposed to it. I don't think this program should exist for mocktails. I'm not sure how giving kids fake drinks is going to encourage them not to drink. I don't know. If I was 13, 14 and somebody gave me a mocktail, I'd be all, oh yeah, this is really great. And then I'd go in the bathroom and I'd have my buddy add some vodka to the mocktail. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bad kid when I was younger. I don't know. But mocktails, it just doesn't seem like it's a good idea to discourage people from drinking. But we kind of wanted to prove the point. And since I wasn't for it, I didn't get a vote. I'm not on the executive board. I'm not on the executive board. They just allowed me to observe, and I don't get a vote. So tomorrow I'm going to probably show up at the commissioners meeting. If I'm not online, I might show up in person, and I'm going to tell them it's wrong for them to give money to the Republican Party, just as wrong as it was for them to give money to the drag show. And I don't know, if you're a conservative, you should believe that the government shouldn't be funding mocktails, right? Yeah, I agree with you. So tomorrow night at the ballot bash. So I wanted to make sure that you all knew about that. And I'm going to bring on a guest right now. And I've gotten to know this guy over the last year or so. He's been in the battle to get the party, the Republican Party, liberated and back to the people. Can become PCPs, and he's been a part of this. He was a candidate for SWAC. I believe that was in the 2024 election, and he has been very active, and he's been polishing up on some of his techniques, because campaigning isn't for everyone. It's like campaigning a politician. You kind of got to take a greasy car salesman sometimes, and you put it together with, some type of diplomat, and you try to shove that together and get some good, decent person who's a politician. Well, this guy's not that. In fact, that's why I love this guy. This guy is your average Joe. And I shouldn't say average, because there's nothing average about him, but he's one of us. He's one of us. He's one of the guys. And that's what I like about this guy. He's not one of the political elites here in Coos County. And this is the gentleman I'm talking about. I'm going to bring him on. His name is Rick Coleman, and he's running for county commissioner. Rick, how you doing, man? I can't hear you. I think you've been muted.
How about now?
All right.
Yeah, I had to hit the right button.
Yeah, that's okay. I do that too. Does your camera rotate?
I don't know.
Rotate that sucker and see if we can get a better. No, not that way. Rotate it. Make it landscape. There you go. No, I don't think yours rotates. That's all right.
Yeah, it just goes upside down.
Yeah, that's okay. Actually, if I wasn't doing this, I would never set my phone to rotate, because every time I read it, it flips on me. So maybe that's what's going there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of this, I can't figure out everything with these phones.
Oh gosh, me neither. I know. I sit there. It's like I ask my 4-year-old granddaughter, "Come over here, show me. I can't read this button," and she's over there working it like nobody's business. It's like, you're 4. How do you know this stuff?
Exactly.
So how's campaigning going?
I think it's been going okay. I feel I got a real good shot at this thing. So
I think you got a very good shot at this thing. I think that we have, even though we didn't get you in the voters pamphlet, which I'll take full blame for that. I should have been on that much sooner, Rick, for you. But I think with what advertising we got out, with the texts that we got out, because we sent, I think it was over 25,000 texts that we had sent out to people to encourage them to vote for you and Brandy. And I think that maybe with that and the fact that the party is now back and functioning, I think there's a lot going on here. And look at this. Marilyn Wright says, I voted for Rick.
Right on. Thank you.
That's very cool. That's the coolest thing, to walk around and people go, "Oh, hey, I voted for you, man."
Yes, it's been very humbling and flattering. Um, yeah, I don't. I still can't quite put my finger on why I jumped into this, other than I want to see some things change for the better for all of us in this county. I
Right.
don't like the direction we're headed, so I'm tired of being an armchair quarterback and decided to get in the game.
That's great. And you're someone, we need more people like you getting in the game, because you work with your hands. You're a real world person who does a real job. So many administrators, and I know there's probably administrators getting mad at me, but so many administrators out there, they're just paper pushers. You know what I mean? But you're a real,
Correct.
you work on things, you fix things, you make things go, you make the business you work for function, which is an incredible feat for anyone who's not in government, because government just mandates it, and then they just spend a fortune making whatever happen. Sometimes it works, sometimes they don't. But business, you have no choice. You have to make things work, right?
Right. And along those lines, one thing I don't know if everybody knows, or I know I've mentioned it to several people when I've been in conversation. I'm not quitting my day job. I'm going to do both. I see no reason a person can't do both jobs. I don't believe in full time politicians. I think that's part of our problem. And anyway, so and I don't plan on making this a career either. So
We've got politicians who, like you said, have made it a career. And there was one recently, he was like on his 20th year. It would have been, yeah, like 5 times he had served 5 terms. And I think that was Bob Maine. I think it was 5 terms, but he served there for a long damn time. And after a while, I think politicians are kind of like house guests or fried fish. After a while, they all start to stink. I don't know.
yeah, well, I think you need to get fresh people in there. I believe in term limits. Um, Fresh people means fresh ideas,
Yeah.
and keeps things moving to me in the right direction, hopefully. Um, and so that's kind of where I'm at with that. The most I plan to do is 2 terms. So hopefully I can get done what I want to do in the first term, or at least get the ball moving and rolling fast enough it can't be stopped. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
anyway, if it takes me a second term to kind of complete some tasks, then I don't have a problem doing that. If I can accomplish my mission in the first term, I don't have a problem handing off to somebody else to pick the ball up and run with it at that point. I really believe fresh fresh minds bring fresh ideas. You don't get stale, and things stay better for everybody.
Um, we are hoping that we start getting some of that ONC money, that timber money. And I'm not sure if the county has entered the deal with the Coquille Indian tribe over the wagon train, or the wagon road lands, the Coos Bay wagon road lands. And so if we get both of those situations going, you might be having a really good economic outlook for the county, as far as the county government itself, because I think that's going to put a lot more millions in your coffers that have been gone for over a couple of decades.
Correct. I sat in on the budget committee meetings this year recently, and that's one of the things they were talking about was the ONC monies, and they didn't kick in as much this year as they first were anticipating. It's all a timing thing.
Yeah,
When the percentages got changed back to what they used to be, and all of that, so it didn't make it to give us the amount they were hoping for this year, but it should come in next year, and that's
right.
an extra, I don't know, $1 million or so. And then
Is that all? I thought it was going to be even more than that.
might be, but I know that. So what they were hoping for this year, it was like a million and a
Right.
half, maybe something like that. So overall, it may end up being better, as things get going with logging on the federal lands. Um, and then that brings the deal with the wagon road properties too, or lands. Um, a big percentage of that goes to Coos County because, well,
Yeah.
big percentage of those lands are in Coos County. And I can't remember how many acres it is off the top of my head, but there's only like 15 or 16% of that in Douglas County. The rest of it's in our county. So we
Right.
should get good off of that. And I do know just from sitting in on a couple of meetings, I'm not real privy to everything because I mean, these are the budget meetings I was in on where I gathered a little information. I haven't sat in on any meetings with anybody from the Coquel or the BLM or whoever's managing that at this point. But I
Deborah
do know they're
Mead,
in
I bet you
talks.
Deborah Mead is part of that, and the tribe attorney. Oh, Brent, I can't think of his damn name. Boy, it's right on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, those guys were all involved with that, and I don't know if they've been contacted or not. So
Yeah, I don't know where exactly they are uh, at with the talks on that, but I know they are. There is conversation going. So
and
hopefully,
right now that's a good thing because when you get in there, what I want you to watch for is it's a 50-50 contract. I think we get 50, they get 50. But the thing is that we pay for the maintenance, I believe, of the equipment, or I forget what the deal is, but we have to pay for a lot of stuff on top of the 50%. So when you get in there and you look at those contracts, and I think you'll completely understand that because you deal with this kind of stuff, I'm sure similar, you're going to find that the devil is in the details. I think it can be done where we both entities, the Indian tribe and the county, can make a profit off of it. I myself, I worry about the Indians managing because at a certain point they may claim that it's hereditary land and try to take it over, and that's not really out of an exaggeration because that has happened before in the past. So with the president putting out an executive order, which I don't know if you know about this, the amount of influence of Indians being able to take land has been lowered, and so it's interesting what's going on the federal level and the county level.
right. Yeah, no, I was not aware of that deal with the president, but um, I don't know. I would have to look into that. I'm not really sure how to feel about that at this point. But if we could work some kind of a deal where we're both profiting off of it, then it can't. Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Anyway, yeah, and it'd have to be something written that they can't take it away from us.
Yeah.
We can't afford to lose.
No,
So,
not 1 acre. We can't lose one
right,
acre. And
right.
I think the county has like 17,000 acres just of county forest land. If that sound right?
17.5, they're saying, I
Yeah,
think
it
is what I
was.
saw. But yeah,
That's which is quite a bit, and they make good money on that. But that's why I thought you would be a good fit for the commissioners. You've already got you've already got administrators on there. Drew Farmer, for all intents and purposes, is the consummate administrator. He's good at the paperwork. He's good at the policy and stuff. But like I said, you're I think is someone who's going to be more nuts and bolts kind of guy. I think you can get into the roads department. I think you can check out the forestry department. And I'm willing to bet a guy like you could probably find cuts there that may not be seen by other people. And you know what it's like to work for guys who are always trying to feather bed their department. You know what I mean?
right. For sure. Yeah, and I don't have any problem. I mean, whatever departments, however it gets divvied up down there, I'm willing to take on whatever they want to throw at me and work with those department heads, see what we can do better, see what we can streamline. You know, that's been one of my big things in this whole deal is first and foremost is we got to fund our sheriff, our jail, and our DA so we can keep the dirt bags off the street. Um,
Right.
anyway, and so I'm tired of seeing, and that's been kind of my slogan or whatever you want to call it. The sheriff's department should be the first funded and last cut out of the general fund. Now I realize roads department isn't general fund. That isn't where they're funded from, and stuff. And I know the forestry department, they put money into the general fund and
Right.
things, but there's still places maybe we can make some adjustments to help the general fund out here and there. Um, I've still got to learn a little bit about some of that, who's funded from where and and that. But I'm
I
ready to hit the ground running and let's go for it.
and I think that's part of the advantage of having someone new is you come in and you learn this stuff. And it's like anything basic. You know what I mean? You go back to the basics and you start learning new stuff. Just say your ABCs or your 1, 2, 3s. There are things that you learn and you forget over time. Where if a new person comes in, say such as yourself, you're getting retaught some of this stuff, and you might have the fresh eyes to say, "Oh, hey, let's go back to the basics here." You know what I mean? Let's go back and figure out why this went wrong and why we went this direction with this policy. And I'm sure there are policies in the county that could be changed. I almost know that for a fact. And that's something I guess I should ask you as well. They just shut off. This was a couple of years ago, and Rod Taylor, this was one of his promises as a county commissioner. He said he would not close off public land to people, and he closed it off to motorized vehicles for the county forest lands. What's your opinion on that and closing off those types of lands?
I don't think it's right. I'm not going to say I don't understand why they did what they
Right.
did there. With everything going down there at the county and budget shortfalls and and not being able to afford to do this or that. Um, Granted, okay, you know we don't run a deficit, to quote John Sweet. Maybe not financially in the bank account because that's illegal, but we're running a deficit in services. And
Right.
one of those services is the forest lands being open to the public. We pay taxes for that stuff. So, um, but like I said, I understand why they did it. We do have some dirt bags around here that
Yeah.
feel that's their dumping grounds. And I'm not going to blame that all on the homeless crisis that we have here because I don't know too many homeless people that are taking washers and dryers and things
Yep.
of that nature and dumping them out in the brush because they don't want to pay to dump them. You know,
And I see
so
that all the time. I can't believe that people and what kills me is we actually found a former mayor, the trash from a former mayor from Coos Bay up at one of the sites. It was one of the last remaining site that's still open where we can go shooting our guns. It's up from Baloney's Boys Ranch. It's that
mhm,
Davies Creek. You head
right,
west when you're going south towards Bandon, and that's the only one that's open. And the only reason it was open because a group of us guys has said that we'd go up there and clean it. And I haven't been up there to go shooting. I haven't been up there to clean it, but I know the people who have, and they have actually found trash from, like I said, a former mayor. I think it was Mark Daly who was.
wow,
They found his trash dumped up there, and of course he says, "Well, I didn't know. I paid somebody to dump it," and of course he gets away with whatever. But
right,
to me, if you're a responsible person, you would make sure that whoever's taking or hauling your garbage away is dumping it in the proper places, or you're really not doing your duty, especially as a former mayor.
correct. I totally agree with that. And, that goes along with what you're talking about. Volunteers going up there and cleaning that so that area stays open. Why can't we have that system in some of these other areas to get them open back up?
Right.
I belong to a group out in Hauser that we do road cleanup, Wildwood Drive, all the way through Hauser twice a year. So, and I've been approached by people at some of the forums and stuff I've done that have asked about that and the forest
Yeah.
lands being opened back up. And they said they're willing to go out there and clean it so they can have access. So I think it's an untapped resource here in the county. I think the county overlooks it. Um, I think sometimes they get too afraid of liabilities if
Yeah.
you allow volunteers out and things like that. But, I don't think people that would be volunteering to do stuff like that are not the people looking for a liability lawsuit.
Right.
It's the good citizens of the county that are trying to make it better for everybody else. So I think we need to quit being afraid of things like that, and
Yeah.
let our citizens work if that's what they want to do.
And that's kind of the problem with like the criminals. You can if you keep them there too long, they'll sue the county. If you got an illegal alien, you can't cooperate with the feds, or they'll sue the county. They've got a group of attorneys up in Portland who love to find these dirt bags in our jails who there may have been some questionable violation of their civil rights. I'm sure it probably wasn't on most cases. And then they're suing the county, and the county will settle because they know it's easier to settle than it is to pay
An
the
attorney.
fine. Yeah.
It's crazy to me. That's where I think we need to have some judges stand up and slap these attorneys with contempt charges for bringing frivolous, meaningless lawsuits just because they know they can get a settlement. And
Yeah.
that's not right. They should be charged with contempt and thrown out of court. That's, I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I firmly believe that too. And yeah,
That would cure a lot of the liability world we're living in right now.
Yeah.
If we had some judges that had the cojones to do stuff like that.
So your opponent, I would classify him as one of the political elites. He's a Democrat strategist. He has a political strategy company, and he has also been involved with many different committees inside government. So he knows a lot. He's been privy to a lot, like you said, to a lot of information that you probably don't know. Maybe that gives him advantage, maybe not. It just depends. But that was one of the arguments that was being made against Brandy. And it was strange that they weren't making it against you, but Rod Taylor was making this argument against Brandy. He's endorsing John Sweet, but he was telling Brandy that because she's new, she's inexperienced, we got to support John because he's the old dog. He knows what's going on. He's been around forever. And I always equate it to the guy in the optical shop. We in the optical shop, we have like 30 different positions in the laboratory. And we'd always get one guy who would learn one position and nothing else. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. If you learn nothing but one thing, you're a one-trick pony, or what you've learned isn't valuable, then what is experience if it's just nothing more than more political elitist BS that comes from those political, what I call bureaucrat types. And John Sweet is a total bureaucrat political type, even though you're not running against him. But what do you think about that argument about you should have more experience to run? How do you get experience if you don't run, I guess is my question too.
Well, you're not going to get experience. The only way to get experience as a commissioner is to get the job, run and get the job. If you run and don't get the job, you didn't gain any experience in the job. And there are some jobs out there that there is no trade-off for experience.
Yeah.
But I also believe, you can't take somebody's experience away from them that could apply to this job just because they haven't done it. I don't believe that means they would not be a good commissioner. And I don't always think, sometimes, yeah, you've got an old dog that's been there for a while, and I won't take his experience away from him, but sometimes that experience has grown stale, and
Yeah.
it's time for them to move on. So what would happen then? I mean, to me, that's saying, well, John's in the race, so we got to vote for him because he's the experienced one. Drew only has a couple years experience, and between me and Rick, neither of us actually have commissioner experience.
Right.
So he's saying we got to have a leader there. Well, but who's to say one of us couldn't be a leader? Uh, I really don't. I'm not going to say it's an easy job, but I don't think it's the most difficult job
Right.
in the world. I
Right.
believe, you're making decisions, you're gathering data and making decisions, hopefully for the best interests of the majority of the county. I'm I'm not going to stand here and say I can make the right decision for every single person in the county because you're going to offend somebody somewhere.
Yep.
Um, but you got to reach the people, the majority. The majority is going to be in the middle. It's not going to be extreme right, extreme left, however you want to look at that. I'm just using right and lefts as examples, but you can't you you just can't. And if you're governing, which seems to be what's going on in our country right now, for the extremes, you're really hurting the people in the middle. That's who suffers, and so we need to get back to that.
Which is odd because you just being a Republican and you're being called by certain people because we're a Republican county. I mean, 60% of us voted for Donald Trump. But for some reason, we there are a lot of very loud people in the Democrat Party and leftists who will say that you are a right-wing extremist and you can't get in there. And I'm willing to bet part of the reason is you're for immigration enforcement, you're for law and order, you're for keeping property, uh, um, keeping the rights to property and allowing people to protect the property from criminals. You're for those types of things, at least from what I understand when I've talked to you. And yet, just for those reasons, you're labeled an extremist. But yet, I think in Coos County, you're right down the middle. Wouldn't you think that as well?
I think so. I don't think I'm extreme one way or the other. Uh, Personally, I
No.
don't think I have really any extreme views. Um, and like I said, the best place to be is in the middle. That's where the best decisions, best conversation, best everything comes from. Uh, I don't like the term moderate. That's what they like to call those of us that are kind of middle thinking, but
Right.
I don't think that's moderate. I think that's more involved than that, because you are touching people from both sides. That's the collective. That's like I said, that's the majority of us.
Right.
I know several people that are registered Democrats, and their ideas of mine aren't that far off, and we can have good conversation,
You,
and that's
you
what it's
wouldn't
about.
believe the amount of Democrats who have been coming into the headquarters to sign the petition. And they almost are embarrassed to admit that they're Democrats. And I always ask them the same question: why are you a Democrat? And it's always been the same answer. Mom was a Democrat, dad was a Democrat, which was okay because these were John F. Kennedy Democrats. You know what I mean? You can just talk to them. And now
Pretty
they're like,
conservative people, really.
yeah, they're conservative people. And you're like, I think the party left you. You were at this train station and they took off and completely left you because it was a pride rainbow flag covered woke train, that just took off out of the station. So that's all you missed.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was someone who contacted me this morning. An elderly woman wanted to register as a Republican. She's been registered as a Democrat all her life. I think she was 88 years old, is what
Oh,
they had
wow.
said. A Democrat all her life, 88 years old. Who would have been president 88 years ago? That would be like Dwight. No, that would be like Truman or something, wouldn't it? Damn.
Probably. Yeah. I
That
can
lady's
look
been
that up.
voting a long time and now a lifelong part of being a Democrat, 88 years old. That must be kind of a shocker to elderly, but maybe I don't know, because it wouldn't be a shocker to me and I'm 60, but I don't know if it would be any different at 88. You know what I mean? I'm going to
Right.
change my party after being a lifelong Democrat. That's just weird, don't you think?
That is very weird, but that tells you kind of the state of things right now. Franklin Roosevelt was president 88 years ago.
Wow.
I just looked it up.
That's impressive. That's
Yeah.
really impressive.
So here's a good one for you. Somewhere back in my lineage, um, my family's related to the Roosevelts,
Oh,
and I'm not
nice.
a Democrat.
Well, neither was Theodore.
No, Teddy was not.
Teddy was not, and he's a
So,
cousin. He's a cousin of
yes.
Franklin.
Yeah.
So even in the same family, which is very true, because my family, we divided between the Baptists and the Catholics, and the Catholics, most of them were Democrats, and the Baptists were all Republicans. So it was funny when we would come to weddings. I'd say, okay, the Catholics to the right, and the next to the bar, and the Baptists to the left, because they abstained. So we we always have those family kind of discussions, but that's I think a lot of families are broken up that way.
Yes. And like I said, I just can't believe our political climate these days, and families that aren't getting along because of who they may or may not have voted for, and all of this kind of stuff. Come on. Uh, get the hate out of yourself, and your family, and whether you're family or not, even. I mean, you could be neighbors, not even have to be friendly neighbors, but get the
Right.
hate out of your heart and get along. We are allowed to have different opinions.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
nothing wrong with that.
Um,
And
that was one of the things that it blows me away. There are a lot of people that I don't like who are running for office, but there are a lot of people who I do like very much who are voting for some of those people. And that's their choice. They have their reasons. And I'll tell you, for governor, and I'll ask you this question too. I'm voting for Ed Deal for governor. And it's not because he's the perfect candidate. Far from it. I think Christine Bethel is
Bethel,
probably the better one. But I'm going to vote for Ed Deal because I think he's going to be one of the top two to get out. It's going to be him and Drazen. So what are your thoughts on governor? Who are you supporting? Maybe I shouldn't ask you. I don't know. That could be
I
contentious.
actually voted for Bethel.
All right.
I am in agreement that unfortunately I don't think she's going to make it out of the primary. Um, and to no fault of her own, I think she
Yeah.
should. I think Deal and her should make it out of the primary.
Yeah.
Personally, Dudley entered the thing way too late. I'm not, I haven't heard a whole lot about him. I remember him from when he played basketball. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but I'm not the biggest Raisin fan.
Yeah.
I voted for her last time around, and since then she has shown me with some of her voting that she's really not the one I would like in there. And I don't think she has the best chance to beat Kotek.
No.
I think the best chance to beat Kotek is probably Ed Deal. But
I that's the only reason I'm voting for him. And it's a vote. It's a pragmatic vote, not a vote on purity. Because if I was
Right.
voting purity, I'd probably be voting David Medina. I love that guy. He's great.
I like that guy too. But I was a little turned off with his, we got a right to be angry, but he professes it a little too much sometimes. Sometimes you got to know when to tone it down. And when we had the governor debate thing there at Marshfield, I thought he was a little too on the attack instead of selling his message. He really went after Ed. He didn't go after Bethel so much, but boy, he did go after Ed, and I don't think that did him any favors personally.
Nope, I don't think it did.
He's
In fact, I think that was the general concession coming out of the debate, that he was kind of a hothead.
yeah, and
And
I'd rather
he's
he
young.
sold his ideas than
Yeah.
try to point out Ed's shortfalls. Um, the probably the biggest reason I voted for Bethel. Um, Listening to her, I like her ideas.
Oh no, we lost Rick. That's all right. He'll be right back on, I'm sure. But I do want to remind you that tomorrow night, we are going to be doing that election night ballot bash. Rick is going to be there. Rick's going to be there. I think Brandy said she was going to be there. So we're going to have Rick. We're going to have Brandy. Let's see what other candidates said they would be there. I don't know if any others are going to stop by. I'll have to think about this while I'm doing the show. That's the best time to think about things like that, right? And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a good time to have a couple of these candidates out there. And if you guys show up, it's going to be a good time to talk. That's the nice thing about this. This is going to be a casual event, and I'm not going to have to do anything. Unlike the debates where I'm constantly running back and forth, that turning point thing. Remember that turning point thing we did just a couple of months ago? Wow, we sold out the Egyptian. What an incredible event. We brought in Steve Bannon's daughter, Mo Bannon, and it was, boy, that was really a stressful event because we had so many protesters and stuff. Luckily, we're going to be in Coquille for this. We don't expect any protesters. We usually don't get them for these type of events. And so I hope you all come out and check it out. And then the following week, this is going to be neat. We've got the new headquarters. And see there, I told you I'd find the address to it. The location is at 93677 Newport Lane in Coos Bay. When entering Coos Bay from the south. This is, like I said, right next to the Human Bean. It's heading south on the Human Bean, and what is it? Shaken Burgers are all there. So we're going to be having that meeting at the headquarters at the grand opening for the headquarters, our central committee meeting, May 27th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So come out at Wednesday. This is Wednesday on the 27th. So wow, we are doing a lot of events. And I think I got Rick back here. Let me see if I'm not sure if he's back on yet. No, he's not quite on yet. All right, that's okay. There he is.
Hey, can you give me
Hey.
just a couple minutes? I got a guy I got to deal with. I'm still here
You
in my
take care
work
of
day,
that.
but I'll get back with you here in about 10 minutes.
You got it.
If
Sorry to cut you off, Rick. Sorry about that. But yeah, we'll get back to Rick here in a few minutes. So that's all right. This is going to give me a little bit of opportunity to let you guys know that we are having these events. Headquarters grand opening Wednesday, May 27th. And of course, tomorrow, the election night bash. Now, let me see if I can share some of these screens here. Let's see. Where was it? Oh, let's see. Something I wanted to show you guys here. Let me get this and share this screen. Let me remove this sucker and share my screen. Let's see if we can do this. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes not so easy. And here we go. All right. Bloop. All right, you guys see this? If you're interested in this, and you should be interested in this, this is the daily ballot return for the state. Now, you can get the county number from the clerk. And I'll show you that here in a few when I get a chance. But I want to show this because, well, it's kind of important. We have 3,103,717 eligible voters in Oregon. That's incredible. That is incredible. Let's see. Let's see. I went too far. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see if I can go down a little bit. Why isn't this letting me go down? Oh, maybe that's just the slide. Okay, maybe that's the total slide. And so here's the first slide, and it's no, that's not the total slide. Let me see if I can get. Oh, what's not working here? I hate when this stuff happens. Okay, let's try this again. All right, let's try this again. Do. Share screen. I don't know why this happens. It's annoying. Yes. Okay, here we go. For some reason, when I had it in full screen, it wouldn't let me scroll down. So here we go. And let me see. I skipped what I wanted to talk about. So not received, percent of eligible ballots received. 80% of them went out. Percent of eligible ballots received. So I guess 19% of them didn't get received. Not received is blue. Received is in the red. Oh, so that's how many is returned. So you see that big blue thing right there? Let me make sure I'm still sharing this. No, I'm not even sharing this. Well, you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. So you see this big blue piece of the pie here? That right there is how many ballots they have not received yet back from the people. That's pathetic, folks. That's really pathetic. Right here, that brown section right there, that right there is the amount of ballots that have been returned so far, and we're at 19.87%. Let's see. This will give you the daily count. And data for 5/1 includes ballots received on or before that date. Okay, continue down. And like I said, you can find this at the Oregon .gov Secretary of State's website. This is look up under ballot returns. Here's the 2026 May primary election unofficial ballot returns. That means that they haven't been officiated yet. And so here we are. Let's see, in Coos County. Let's see if I can increase the size of this. No, that ain't doing it. Oh, here we go. There we go. Coos. Okay, eligible voters. 50,821 ballots received, 12,316. So that's 24% of that 50,000. Ooh, well, isn't that's about 12% of the population, folks. So usually the way this plays out here in Coos County, we're above average. We're at 19% for the state, but we're above average at 24.23%. So I would recommend you guys get out there and put your votes in. If tomorrow's election day, usually the way this works is that on election day, they will receive about 50% of the ballots. And you know why that is? That's because many of us don't vote until election day. That's like me here. I'm going to be bringing all these ballots. I got all these ballots here, and we're going to be bringing those to the ballot bash on tomorrow, Tuesday, at the Coquille Community Center. And there you go. C. Coasty says, come on, Coos County, not voting elects Democrats. And Coasty is right. Coasty is 100% right. Not voting elects all these damn Democrats. This is pretty sad. This is pretty pathetic there. I don't know what to say. Steve, hey, Steve, glad you could join us. I'm still wondering, the large counties are super low. Yeah, that is a little weird. But then again, if you had to vote for Democrats, would you want to show up to the polling place? I don't know, Steve. Maybe that's the problem. They only have Democrats running, and everyone's like, why even show up? Do I vote for communist number A or do I vote for communist number B? I don't know. So I feel kind of sorry for those people who live in the bigger counties because, that's usually the counties where you have Eugene, you have Salem, and you have Portland. And what do you have in Eugene, Salem, and Portland? Well, you have a bunch of commie freaks. And it's unfortunate. It's back in the old days, that would be insulting. If you called someone a communist, they would literally be insulted by it. Now they wear it as a pride. It's part of their pride apparel, their pride swag. You know, they got the fist. You know, the fist of solidarity now. So it's kind of weird. You know, we used to not like communists, and now communists are, well, they're back in vogue. I guess that's just why nobody's voting in Eugene or in Salem or in Portland. Multnomah County is. Let me get that back on there. Let me put that back up large again, and let's see. Let's go down to Multnomah County. Multnomah County is at 15.79%. Lane County is at 18.41%. What is Salem in? What county is Salem in? Let me find out. What county is Salem, Oregon in? What county is Salem, Oregon in? I think it's, I don't know. I can't remember. Salem, Oregon. Marion County. Okay. So let me go back here to Marion County, and they're at 18%. So you got 15% in Multnomah. You got 18%. That's, I believe, isn't that Danielle Bethel's county? I believe so. Yeah, 18%. Danielle, you're going to have to yell at your people over there in your county and tell them, hey, folks, get up. I'm not a communist. Vote for me. Vote for me now. And then in Lane County, you got the 18.41%. Yeah, very, very disgusting. Very disgusting. I don't know why. This is what kills me when people go, well, vote by mail. I mean, so many people vote because of vote by mail. We get a higher turnout because of vote by mail. I don't know if that's true or not. I would be willing to bet, and I don't know this, but I'd be willing to bet. I'd be willing to bet a C note that back in the day before we had mail-in voting and that people went to the polling stations, the precincts, that we had a higher turnout. And the reason why we had a higher turnout is because we made voting something of value. I don't know. I think that might be the case. Let's see. Stocks Family Farm says, I received an extra ballot a guy at church received for someone else. Should I commit election fraud like a Democrat? No. Do you know that election fraud? Now, this is a state election because this is a primary, so you wouldn't face any federal election crimes. So it's not nearly as bad of a penalty, but I believe for the federal elections, if you have a federal election violation and you vote and you're casting a fraudulent ballot, I think it's 5 years. I think it's 5 years in jail. I don't know if anyone ever actually goes 5 years because nobody goes to jail in Oregon, but that's yeah, I think that's 5 years is what the minimum is on that. Steve Nye says, or is that an indication of something else? Yeah, that's interesting. Or is it an indication of something else, like cheating going on? Is that what you're suggesting, Steve? I don't know. Steve, illuminate us here. Illuminate us and tell us what's going on. Lynn County. Is Salem up in Lynn? I thought it was Marion. I just looked it up. I'm pretty sure it's Marion. Then, of course, oh, damn, I was wrong. Oh, never mind. I guess I should have went to the last comment before I saw they won't. Whatever, it's okay. I'm wrong on a regular basis. I'm wrong a lot before I even get out of bed. So don't feel bad. But this is just pathetic. It's really sad that people are not turning out for the elections. But let's see. Let's go back to Coos County. Let's see that number again. It says Coos, 50,821 people. I wonder what the census says about how many people I wonder what the percentage is of that. If you have eligible 50.821%, how many of them are, how many actual people are able to vote compared to the eligible voters on the voter rolls? That would be a good thing to find out. See, if we elect Marty, we get Marty in there, we'll be able to find that stuff out. I don't know. Just saying, just a thought there. So let me stop sharing that. And there we go. So since Rick's off right now, let's go down through the list. This is who I'm voting for these positions. And by the way, just because I'm voting for some of these people doesn't mean I endorse them. Some I do, some I don't. Kurt, I'll endorse Kurt. I've worked with Kurt for a long time. I'm not sure of his strategy right now. I'm not sure what his, I kind of get it. He's just going to go in and he's got two planks to his platform. Transparency, which we're not getting with the current clerk, and he's asking for the voter rolls to be cleaned, which they're not being cleaned now. So that's two things that Kurt is going to do, and I support that, even though he says he's not going to be the traditional type clerk, and I don't know how he's going to work that out. We'll just have to have faith in Marty, and I'm going to vote for him because I think he's better than the alternatives. And Stocks Family Farm says, my dad is still registered at the mission downtown, but he lives in Iowa now. And that's probably the way it's going to be for several years. And in fact, we know that there are people who were dead 10 years ago, who all of a sudden started voting again. We have found those people. That's actual truth. And we will be getting those names out and that information out on down the road with our election integrity group. So I'm voting for Marty Kurt. I hope you are too. I do endorse him. He's a great guy. And I know it's controversial, but that's okay. That's the primary. You can't make a decision that's not controversial. And of course, there he is, election integrity. We had Dr. Douglas Frank on the show last Friday night. I highly recommend, if you didn't get to see it, check it out. When you want the best in election integrity data, work with the best. Nobel Prize nominated Dr. Douglas Frank, PhD. Marty knows a guy. Marty knows a guy. He was a little surprised that I had Dr. Douglas Frank on the show Friday night. I didn't tell Marty. I had planned it a couple of days in advance. I had called up Doug and I said, Doug, hey, Marty's running for office. Why don't you come on and give him some support, give him a shout out. And it was great because Doug is really cool. Well, that's what he did. And of course, I'm voting for Brandy Martindale. Now, I didn't vote for her to be endorsed by the Coos County Republican parties. I want to put that out there. Not that I didn't think she deserved it. I just don't think anyone who's not a Republican, and she is a Republican now. She is re-registered as a Republican. I don't know how long that will last, but she is now a re-registered Republican. Maybe she'll start feeling comfortable as a re-registered Republican. Maybe being a Republican will make her feel so good. Maybe she'll just feel more comfortable in her skin labeled as a Republican. I don't know. I hope so. But Brandy Martindale, she's running for Coos County Commissioner. And of course, she's running against John Sweet. Do you want John Sweet back? He's been there for, I don't know, 16 years. What has he done in the last 16 years? I mean, other than increase taxes, pass bad laws, pass bad ordinances, increase our fees. What has the guy done? So I'm voting for Martindale. Robin Thomas. Robin, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Senator choice. We're getting to that. Don't worry, we're getting to that. I just haven't gotten there yet. And of course, I'm speaking with Rick Coleman. He had to deal with something at work right now. What a guy. He came out during the workday. His boss is a really good guy. Sam Frost for Douglas County Commissioner. I know most of you are here in Coos, but if you're in Douglas, Sam Frost is who I'm recommending. And of course, we need Steve for Douglas County. He's also running for Douglas County Commissioner. Steve, by the way, is endorsed by OFF, Oregon Firearms Federation. So take that in consideration. Oregon Firearms Federation did not endorse Chris Boyce. That should tell you something. That's who this guy is running against. That's who Steve is running against. And I know Steve. I endorse Steve 100%. He's a great guy. So if you're in Douglas County, he's the guy to vote for commissioner. Claire Lynn for state representative. This is HD 9, House District 9. This is Boomer Wright's seat. I like Claire. You know what was cool about Claire? First off, I can call her up. I can call her up and I can say, hey, Claire, we need more signs at the headquarters. And Claire usually delivered them herself. It was really cool. She would come out and, I mean, this young lady, I think she's out there from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night campaigning. She's a consummate campaigner. She is excellent at it. Troy Cribbins is running. Troy, to his credit, he came out to the headquarters last Wednesday. We have casual Wednesday. It's a casual night. We usually order pizza and beer, and we have Wednesday night where a bunch of us conservatives sit around and talking to each other, and it was really cool. We had about 60 people out there. I haven't seen a meeting for the Republican Party here in Coos County, just a casual meeting of 60 Republicans, and I don't know how long. It was just a casual meeting. We had burgers. People came in. They brought in chips and drinks and desserts. Man, Carol brought in all these cookies. They were great, So, Claire Lynn is running against Troy Cribbins. And like I said, to his credit, he came down there to talk with us. And I had a really good time talking with him. He's not a bad guy when you meet him in person. He's just not someone I want to vote for office. I prefer Claire. I think Claire is going to do a better job. I'm sure I'll probably be battling with her over some of the economic development things that are going on. I think she's someone who likes to use government money for economic development. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It just depends on how it's implemented. And, those are some of the things I'm sure I'll be battling Claire on. But for the most part, she's pretty good on the Second Amendment. She's pretty good on property rights. She's pretty good on all the other rights that we like to have around. And she likes low taxes. She's against the taxes that they've been pushing on us for a long time. So this young lady, Claire Lynn, is running for House District 9, state representative. And let's see. This gentleman here is running for governor. I didn't vote for him. I wish I could vote for him, but I just don't think he's going to make it. But this is the young man who, if you're voting for him, I would call a vote for David Medina. I would call that a clean vote. This is what I mean by a clean vote. I could vote for David Medina and it wouldn't bother my conscience one bit. Voting for Ed Deal, who I'm voting for, it kind of bothers my conscience. I'm really hoping he turns out to be a solid guy. I'm really hoping so, but I've been disappointed so much. You know what I mean? You put your faith in so many of these politicians. I'll give you an example. Dick Anderson, we put so much faith into Dick. And what did we get? We got Dick. So don't put your faith in Dick because you might get Dick. And that's why we got Dick Anderson, who turned out to be a really lousy Republican. With David Medina, he's going to be a clean vote. And I really like him. And Nicole Taylor, Robin Thomas is hoping too. She's hoping, I guess, that he gets out there. But Nicole Taylor says, I do like David Medina. He's a good guy. I really do too. And, he's got a hell of a future ahead of him. He's a young man to watch. I highly recommend that. Danielle Bethel, Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? I think of all of the candidates, I think she would have been the best for the position because she has worked in a county who's had to live with the legislation that people like Ed Deal and Christine Drazen have voted on or against. She has worked with that stuff. So, but I wouldn't call her a clean vote because there are a couple of things with her that I have a few problems with. It's not even worth mentioning because it's not a deal breaker. I would still vote for her, but I wouldn't call it a clean vote. There were some things on my conscience that might bother me about Danielle. Not nearly as bad as most of the others, but Danielle, I don't know if I'd call it a clean vote, but I would definitely vote for her. If it was her and Christine Drazen, I would vote for Danielle. If it was her, Christine Drazen, and Dudley, I would vote for Danielle. But unfortunately, we got Ed Deal in there. Not unfortunately. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. But here we are. That's the man I'm voting for. Doesn't have the greatest voting record. He doesn't have he doesn't have what I would call the kind of charisma that people like Donald Trump has. But he's a likable man. I don't know how much we can trust him. I'm hoping when he gets into office, because all you have when you're in office is your voting record. And his voting record isn't that good in Salem. However, it may be different when he's a governor. When he's a governor, he may be, because he's the top guy, I think he's going to rule much more conservatively than he voted in the House. At least I hope so. I mean, I talked a long time with Kevin and several other people, Kevin Starrett from Oregon Firearms Federation, and several other people who, are in the know. I think we all kind of have agreed that Ed Deal is kind of our guy, but it's not a clean vote. It's not a clean vote like David Medina. It's going to bug me in my conscience. It's going to be like a vote. I hope I'm not voting for another Dick Anderson. I hope I'm voting for a Noah Robinson. That would be great. Or a Kim Thatcher, or maybe a Dennis Lithicum. If I was voting for someone who came out and was that good, that would be kick-ass. I don't know. Can Deal do it? I don't know, but I'm going to vote for him only because I don't want Christine Drazen. And Dudley, I wouldn't have a problem with Dudley. I think Dudley would be a clean vote too. I don't have any problems with Dudley. I mean, I know people go, oh, well, he's kind of a flip-flopper on abortion. Yeah, that's not a deal breaker for me. I mean, he's going in as governor. I don't think he's going to have to deal with too much with abortion issues. So, and believe me, we got much more issues to deal with than to worry about abortion issues. I mean, that's a fight we can pick some other time. Right now, we've got to clean up the state. I don't know. Let me read some of the comments because this is interesting. Steve Nye says, such a good point. Certain people we vote for come with residue. Yes. They have a nasty taint to them. It's a nasty taint. And that's the sad part. When you get into the primary, luckily we got choices. We got a lot of choices for governor and a lot of choices for other positions. We'll talk about those positions later. But when we get into the general, you're going to be stuck with the Republicans that we voted for, folks. We're going to be stuck with the Republicans who are going in for senator, for House, for governor. We're going to be stuck with that Republican, whoever wins this primary. This is a very important vote. So remember that when you're placing down that vote. Are you going to vote over pragmatism, the guy who you think you're going to win? Or are you going to vote for purity, the guy who fits most of your ideological values? I don't know. I'm voting for Ed Deal for pragmatism, not for purity. Nicole Taylor says Danielle Bethel for governor is a force. Yeah, well, that's why she had that Wonder Woman thing was great. That she seems like someone who would be a real cool Wonder Woman. She could be a force. I agree with that. Steve Knight says Danielle Bethel for governor is the right guy call. Well, okay. We'll see about that. I don't know. That was one of the problems, Steve, that I had with Danielle is she's a woman. She's all woman. And she's a real woman, not one that became a woman years later after being born a woman. She's an actual woman and a nice, attractive woman. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of tired of women in the lead office. I kind of want a guy there. And that's why I think Dudley would be a clean vote, because Dudley, like I said, isn't owed by anyone. He does have that abortion issue thing, but that's not a deal breaker for me. And I think it would be a clean vote because he's not part of the Republican establishment or any political establishment here in Coos or in Oregon. I would vote for Dudley. And if Dudley wins, I'm going to campaign like gangbusters for him, because I think of all the people, he's one of the least caustic people in the race. I think he is what we would call vanilla. With the 31 flavors we have running for governor, Dudley is vanilla. And I don't know, you're safe with vanilla sometimes, but not everyone wants vanilla. They like Tutti Frutti. I don't know. I think Tutti Frutti is what we got for governor now. Let's see. This is a good comment. So Steve says, Ed seems like a tool. And he does. That's the sad part. That's why my conscience is going to bug me. I'm voting for him. But like I said, I would vote for Bethel. I keep saying Christine. I don't know why I would vote for Danielle Bethel. I would vote for Medina. And and Nicole says, agreed with Steve Nye. She agrees that Ed seems like a tool too. We'll find out. I think we're going to be campaigning for him in No, general election. Stocks Family Farm says next election I'm going to run as an alcoholic stoner and get all the Democrat votes. Then have smarter people than me tell me what to do. JK. That's interesting. That would be interesting. I'm the alcoholic stoner, and you could probably. That would be a good Democratic platform. Okay, TJ, you're gonna have to do one thing. You're gonna have to be pro alcoholic, pro stoner, and you want to kill everyone's baby. In fact, you are so pro abortion now to be a Democrat. You're gonna have men have abortion. That's how we're gonna have to work that so that the Democrats vote for you. As long as you're gonna kill babies and not Ukrainians and Muslims, the Democrats love you. So it's weird. Baby killing is okay for the Democrats. Other stuff, not so okay. So I don't know, TJ. It's going to be a hard one. It's going to be a hard one. Think about that. Steve Nye says, I will hold that person to standards that represent us. I will too. And I'm glad you're there, Steve. This is the cool thing about having people like Steve, like Nicole, like TJ there. I'm not the only one who's holding these people to standards. So yeah. I got to get back to Rick. Let me see if Rick is here. Let me remove that. Rick, are you back?
I'm back.
Oh, I've been going over the candidates for the different positions. Robin Thomas, please hold on because we'll be going over the Senate candidates here in a minute. I just went over the governor candidates, so I'm going to go to the Senate, but I wanted to pick up on you because we've been having an interesting conversation with the people online. They've had a lot of good comments. Peggy Rent says, I voted by my gut. I chose Medina. No future regrets. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd vote for Medina, and even if he lost, I wouldn't care because I wouldn't have no regrets. And I'm sure you're the same with Bethel, right?
Correct. Like I said, to me, she was I just feel like she stands on her principles better than the other candidates out there. And I liked what Ed had to say with some stuff, but his for somebody who's supposed to be conservative, his voting record is not there. He's in the 60 percentile, and that's not good to me. I'm not saying you got to be 100%, but you should definitely be better than 60. That's a failing grade to me.
The 11th commandment, and this is what everyone always tells you. They always remember the first part of the 11th commandment. They'll say, thou shalt not talk bad of fellow Republicans. What they don't say is what Reagan also said after that is that if you can agree with someone 80% of the time, you should take that person. Well, if we could get 80 percenters up there, I would take that person, but we don't have 80 percenters in this county. Every one of our representatives are 70% or under. That's a C or less. We deserve better than that.
We do. So that's why I voted for Bethel. Now we'll see how like I said, I'm unfortunate. I don't think she'll make it through the primary. It's going to be Deal and Drazen most likely. And Ed will have my vote come November. Good deal. Well, I do want to ask you one other question. Because it's the most important issue that's happening right now, and that's the port. The port has that cargo container plant they want to put in there, the intermodal cargo container plant, the PCIP project that they're doing and all that good stuff. What do you think of that? What do you think of the county? Because the county is going to have to be involved. You or one of the other commissioners are going to be sitting on the Urban Renewal Agency for the county, which covers the North Spit. So you're going to have a lot of decisions to make on that project. So what are your feelings or what are your thoughts on that? I think it would be a good thing if it ever really gets off the ground and out of the planning stages and stuffing millions into people's pockets that aren't really doing anything. That seems to be what happens. I mean, look at um, the natural gas thing. There was a lot of money spent on that that went into, big wig pockets that did nothing for us down here. I'm hoping this doesn't turn out to be the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest fear. Now, we need industry here. We desperately need living wage jobs for people to keep their families here. I was fortunate. I'm from this area. I left the area for a number of years, and I was fortunate to be able to come back before my retirement age, which was always my plan to retire here at home. Um, but I was fortunate to get back here soon, way sooner than that. I mean, I don't know, I was in my early 40s when I was able to come back here. So well below retirement age. And I managed to find a living wage job. There's not that many of them here. So we
No.
need to get some. Um, I would like to see something like this. I don't think we utilize our port to its potential. We were the the lumber capital of the world for
Mm-hmm.
years. There was
Mm-hmm.
more board foot of lumber shipped out of this port than anywhere in the world.
Yep.
Do I think we'll ever get back to that amount of lumber going out of here? No. But we could definitely make this port better than what it is, as far as, things coming in and out of it that way. So am I for the project? I am for the project. Does my gut say it's going to happen? I I'm still on the fence there. I really am.
Yeah.
The one of the things I would like to see, we're talking about the port. Besides that, I would like to see our port commission be elected by people in our county, not appointed by state people.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Thank you very much. I wasn't even thinking about that. Thank you. Yes.
yeah, that's something that needs to happen. You know, so I
Let
think
me
the
ask
people
you, if
here
you
should be
were a
picked.
commissioner and a couple of us citizens came to the commission and asked you during public comment that on the next meeting on the agenda, if you would consider discussing passing an initiative through the board, which would be a referral. It's not an initiative. It'd be called a referral, where you would put an ordinance on the ballot taking the port back to an elected position. Would you be interested in listening to something like that argument?
100%.
Very
No,
cool.
no questions asked. I firmly believe that's where it needs to be. The people in Salem have no idea what we need for a port commission. The people that live here do, and that's just my feeling on that. So that should be in our control. It should not be in the control of people up in Salem.
Right. Yep. And I totally agree with you, because we've been getting some really lousy port commissioners. And I'll be honest with you, I feel so sorry for the port manager. I think they really put her in a position and shoved a lot of duties on her that she just does. I don't think she knows how to run a railroad. And to be honest with you, I think that's something the port and the commission is going to have to talk about.
No, and I don't think the port should be owning a railroad. To me, that's a little bit out of the scope of what the port should be doing. When they first took that over, they weren't even coming across the bay, which they're not coming across the bay again
Right.
due to that bridge needing, it needs rebuilt. It doesn't just need repaired. That thing needs rebuilt. But if you think about how old that bridge is, it's a wonder it's still standing at all.
1914. That bridge
Yeah.
was built in 1914.
Yeah. And I used to walk out there years ago when I first moved back home. We'd walk out there and fish off that bridge. And you see the gaping holes rusted through that erector set is unreal. But again,
That's
like I said, if
dangerous. You're
you,
going out on that bridge. I've seen that
oh
bridge.
man, and you think how old it is, though, it's really, to me, held up remarkably well in its environment for how old it is. Now, again, it needs rebuilt. But again, where I was going, when the port first took over the railroad, The nickname was Southport Railroad because that's
Yeah.
the only people that were benefiting from it. Now, I have no problem with Southport. Jason Smith and those guys are good people.
Great
My
people.
dad retired from there, so I have no, and he's stepped up and done some fantastic things for my family over the years. So I got nothing bad to say about Jason. I think he's a stand-up guy. That's
Right.
a stand-up operation. I am glad to see him putting the pellet facility in
Yeah.
down there. You know,
That was a
that's
good
another
idea.
good, yes, another bonus for our area.
Yeah.
I stand fully behind that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, that's where I stand on that. I think the container thing could be a good thing for us if it actually gets here. I'm not convinced enough yet.
Steve Knight, he has a comment here. This is kind of interesting. He says, idea. Let's stop begging industry to come to us. Let's take the obvious and let them come to us. We have everything. Shed it, Rick. I'm not sure what that means.
Uh,
Rick, Steve, you're going to have to rephrase that. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I'm not sure either. And I'm not begging anybody to come here.
Yeah.
But we do, for industry to come here, we are going to have to become more attractive to get more industry here. What kind of industry that is, I don't know.
Well,
Because
we shouldn't have to worry too much about bringing an industry in. Coos County is one of the lowest taxed property tax percentage in the entire state. I think we're like number 2. So that should be a bonus when we're talking about business. That should be something people should tell them. If you go to Multnomah or any other county north of us, you're going to be paying more in taxes, property taxes alone. Plus, we got this nice deep water port. That's the only deep water port between, what is it, Portland and San
San
Francisco.
Francisco,
Damn.
yeah. The biggest problem we have, I really think for industry here is geography.
Yeah.
It's our
Yeah.
roads. It's our pretty much defunct railway. You could get that rail system up and running like it should be, where trains could travel the way they need to travel. You might make it profitable, for industry to utilize it. Nobody wants to ship their goods on a railway that can't go more than about 15, 20 mile an hour up the rails because
Yeah.
they may fall apart. So there's that problem. And believe me, 101 never should become a 4-lane highway. So I don't want to lose that, but there is some hindrance for some huge industry. That the biggest advantage we have for industry is the deep water port.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why it was perfect for logging, because we cut the logs here, or yeah, we felled the logs here, and we cut the logs here, and then we shipped them out here.
And
Pretty simple.
far, yeah. And we used to mill them and send the lumber. Now we're just debarking the logs and sending the logs out, which I would like to see them cut those logs, and at least square them up into a cant before they're shipped. Then
Yeah.
we're getting a little bit more money kept here.
Yeah.
So, there's some things we could do better for sure.
And that's why I thought you would be, once again, because you work in a business where it's construction, and the port is all new economic development is nothing but construction and such. So it's something that's right down your alley. And I knew that that's why I think you're the perfect candidate for this. This is a great position for you, because I think you have common business sense, where people who, like your opponents, they are paper pusher bureaucrats who have a limited, narrow view of how government should be run. Whereas people like you, I think, because you come from the free market, you come from the real market, that you have to be more adaptable than government. Government isn't adaptable at all.
No. And, and this is something I just thought about the other day that, that has to do with money stuff like we're talking now. So, uh, I've already said I believe in term limits. I don't think politicians should be full time. Um, but going back to even simple as campaigning, I don't believe the guy that spends the most money should be the guy to win. And it seems to be part of what happens, in our political system. If you can spend $100,000, you're more than likely going to beat your opponent because, well, okay, you got your face on the radio or on TV or your voice on the radio or that sort of thing a lot, and that doesn't always mean you're the best candidate
Right.
just because you spent a bunch of money to do something. My campaign has been, pretty pretty low budget.
I can tell you right now, Rick, that if Danielle Bethel had the money that Drazen or Dudley had, she would be in that top tier. But because
Agreed.
of certain people who got into the race, and Ed Deal is one of them, she lost a lot of big donors to Ed Deal who were going to give to Bethel. And that really shortchanged her getting into the election, because when she got into the election, Ed told her that he wasn't going to be running, and then he ran, which once again is one of those bugs my conscience a little bit about it. But that's just
Right.
how politics works, is you could be the greatest candidate, but if you don't get that funding at the certain right time, you lose because your face isn't on TV. You're, like you said, your voice isn't on radio. You don't have your picture on the newspaper when they open it up, and that gets a lot of vote. The flyers. If I could buy a flyer for you, that would have been, if I had money to blow, that's what I would blow in your campaign. Is I would have, for the last week of the election, I would have had a flyer come out every day of the week
Right.
with a different issue.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, I just don't believe in all of that. Shouldn't be, it shouldn't be based on your pocketbook or who you can get to give you a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. I guess I'm too simple minded for
No.
some of that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
it's like you said, back to basics. That's
Back
where
to
I'm
basics.
at.
Well, Rick, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. We've had you on here a good amount of time. Let me ask you, what would you like to tell the listeners before I get you out of here?
Well, I guess my message is I'm here to serve you. When I get in office, that's my plan. I will be a public servant. I'm not an elected official. I hate that term. We're nothing official about us. So that's me. I'm here to serve you. I plan on staying in contact, in touch. I'm an open book. Come and talk to me anytime. Call me, message me, whatever it takes. I believe in gathering information from my constituents and fellow citizens and taking it from there, voicing your
All right.
concerns.
And Coasty says, Coasty 95 says, good luck, Rick.
Well, thank you.
All right.
So-
You take care.
Okay, Rob, thanks for having me on.
No problem. It was a pleasure. You take care. All right. That was a very interesting interview. And I'm going to get back to the election review, but I got to get some of these comments out here. Okay, here. I want to get back to this comment right here. Craig Cheney says, well, if you just vote for someone that isn't in the top running, you're voting for Drazen. I wish we had more the just establishment Republicans running. I am voting for Ed Deal. I am hoping I don't get disappointed. Yeah, I know. I couldn't agree with you more. I can't argue with that statement. Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed with that. Let's see. TJ talks Stocks Family Farm says we don't have housing to bring more people in. That's what concerns me, and it's hard to build here on the rocks. Yeah, the housing thing that's easily solved. We have plenty of building material. We have plenty of land. I mean, it's just locked up. You got too many urban growth boundaries. You got too many government owned properties. There's a lot of things we could do. The zoning, the planning, all the regulations, all the permits that you have to get, a lot of that could be streamlined and we could be building houses here. I don't know. I come from the desert. And I don't normally, I haven't been in New Mexico in a while, but I know they weren't talking about a housing shortage when I left New Mexico. And that's because you could build an adobe house in the middle of the desert out of mud and hay, basically. And so I always was blown away when I moved here and I thought, wow, with all this land and all this wood, it shouldn't be any problem to build a house. And then I hear stories all the time how people move here. And I just recently heard this. Someone, I moved here, but then I was going to build a house and I found out how long it was going to take to build a house. And now I'm living in an apartment on an acre of land. I mean, in a trailer on an acre of land. And that's sad because there's no excuse for it, TJ. There's no excuse for not having houses built in Oregon. Steve Nye says, my point is we act like we have to beg for things. I don't feel like we take the victim mentality. And I see what you're saying. That's what I always said. And I said this once at the city of Coos Bay at a council meeting. I said, you guys need to stop acting like a butt ugly third grader because you're a beautiful model. Coos County is a beautiful model, but yet we act like a butt ugly third grader with pimples and braces. I don't know why we act like such a butt ugly third grader with we're overweight and we're not. Mo Bannon, like I was just talking about Steve Bannon's daughter, she came here and she landed in Eugene and we drove her out here and she says, I wasn't looking forward for that 2-hour drive, but then I drove that 2-hour drive and it was the most scenic, beautiful landscape I've ever seen. She said it was incredible. She said, I loved it. I loved it so much she enjoyed the ride back to the Eugene airport. Why? Because we are a beautiful model. Out of 1 out of 10, Oregon is a 10, but yet we act like a 3. Why is Coos County acting like a 3 when we're a 10? We're a 10, damn it. Start acting like that. We should be sashaying all over this damn state like nobody's business. And all the people, all the guys in Multnomah County, all the other counties, they should be wanting to come down to Coos Bay and Coos County because we're so hot, man. We're beautiful down here. I don't know. Like I said, I come from the desert. I lived in West Texas. You go look at West Texas and then come here. You'd see a huge difference. Okay, well, something's happening on my Facebook stream. I don't know what's going on. But for some reason, if you're not getting me on Facebook, you can now get me on YouTube. I don't know what happened. I just got a signal. I'll have to find out. Jeff P says, if we want to get rid of Kotex, we better get on the same page. That happens in a general, and we will get on the same page. Even if Drazen wins, I'm going to vote for her. I know we're going to push her and promote her at the headquarters. I hope she doesn't win, but if she does, believe me, Jeff, we're all getting behind the Republican winner. There is no doubt about it. Wow, I just lost a bunch of viewers. Is anyone seeing me on Facebook? If you're watching on Facebook and you can still hear me, give me a comment because it says I'm having problems on Facebook. We are having trouble streaming on Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook's end. It is possible the stream was ended or deleted on Facebook. Oh, that's nice. Okay, I'll have to find out what the hell's going on. C Coasty 95 says, but the only way to move the containers will be by rail. Truckers do like 42, 38, 126, especially 101. That's the problem I have. I don't see the railroad coming back, folks. I mean, this is This is 2026, not 1926 or 1826. Railroads, I don't know. It seems a little passe. I would put 4 lanes of highway, not on 101, because I agree with Rick. You wouldn't want it on 101. That's a beautiful tourist highway. Once again, that's part of why we're a 10. But I'll tell you what, we need to make one of these highways, one either 38 or 126. It'd probably be 38 out of Reedsport. But we need a 4-lane highway between our county and I-5 if we want to grow. And until you have that 4-lane highway between here and I-5, folks, we're out in the desert. We might as well be a desert. We're a hot chick on a deserted island. That's what we are. Coos County is the hot chick of Oregon, and we're on a deserted island, and we've got an ego complex. We think we're a butt ugly, fat third grader for some reason. It's the weirdest psychology. I never understood why we act like that here. Stocks Family's Farm says it's all about marketing 100%. You're damn right. C. Coasty says Dudley paid for the poll that put him ahead of Kotek. Yeah, well, Dudley has the money. Dudley's got the money. That's why I don't think he's going to win, because instead of putting that money into the campaign, he paid for a lot of campaign advisors from New York. Yeah, good luck for them. Yep, Steve Nye says, good man, good man. All right, thank you. Craig Cheney says, yes, Jeff, 100%. I just don't want to have to vote for Drazen, but I would like to get rid of Kotex. Yeah, I don't want to either. We'll just hold our nose. Let the castor oil go down, and we'll call that Drazen oil. Instead of castor oil, we're going to be doing Drazen oil. Hopefully we won't have to do that. Peggy Rent says redheaded stepchild. Hey, I was a redheaded stepchild. Hey, you know, it was the funniest thing when you're a redheaded stepchild and we used to move all the time. It was always weird because we would move. And at some point when we would move to a new place, somebody would always say this expression. And if you're a redhead, I'm sure you've heard this expression. I'm going to beat you like a redheaded stepchild. When I was a little redheaded stepchild, I used to think, what the hell's the matter with you people? Do you just beat redheaded stepchildren for no reason? Is this a thing? Who the hell does that? And, you know, and as a redheaded stepchild, I was thinking, God, am I going to go through my whole life? I mean, I moved from Texas to Missouri, and they've got the same expression. We're going to beat you like a redheaded stepchild. Well, I am a redheaded stepchild. What's the matter with you people? So, yeah, that saying really screwed me up. It really messed with my psyche. And that's why I am the way I am today there, Peggy. Yeah, I'd rather be dead than red on the head. All you redheads know that. Yeah, there was a song they used to sing on the bus to make fun of me. There was one great bus when I was the new kid. When you're the new kid, you get made fun of. And they had this great song. They would sing, I'd rather be dead than red on the head, like a lump on a log, like a dick on a dog. That I'm not kidding you. And you would have like 8 kids behind me singing that song. They were high schoolers on the same bus as little kids. And I was the new kid. And of course, you know, having his bright red hair and being the new kid, we're going to beat you like a redheaded stepchild. Oh my God. You too. You people too. Wow. You're sick. You're really sick. I don't know. Sorry. That was some deep therapy there. I needed that. Thank you, Peggy. I really appreciate that. Stocks Family Farm says, I came here in 2001 and knew I needed to live here in 2013. I got here. Yeah, I agree. Stock Family Farm says, red on the noodle like a wiener on a poodle. Yeah, I'd rather be dead than red on the head, like a red on the noodle like a wiener on a poodle. Yep, that was those kinds of sayings, like a lump on a log, like a dick on a dog. Yep. Kids can be mean, but it's okay. That's why I turned out to have such character that I have now today, is because you are honed by those experiences. You are like a fine piece of metal that's getting honed and sharpened up because of all that bullying. I don't know. People, they want to stop bullying, but bullying was a good thing. Sure, I got my ass kicked a few times, but it's because they were all beating the redheads. And so, but that's okay. We learned how to fight back. So, you know, I'm a tough kid. I can take a beating. It's all right. So that was my back to the comments. And now I got to go back to the candidates. So Robin Thomas, if you haven't left, I hope you haven't left. Monique Despain for Congress. That's who I'm voting for. She's going to beat Val Hoyle. Val Hoyle and her motor money. We got a lot of that motor money. Yep. Oh, Seacoast, he says, I understand, Rob. I had a redhead brother and a redhead sister. They got all of the attention. Yeah, that's true. Now, there is another side to the redhead thing. Okay, you get picked on as a redhead, but you also get something else. You also get something else as a redhead. There are women out there who are redhead chasers. Yeah, you ever heard of chubby chasers? My uncle was a chubby chaser. All his wives were like 250 plus pounds. Chubby chaser, just loved big women. Well, there are some women out there who love redheads. And I didn't know this until I got older. And it was like weird. I'd be in the store and women would come up. Oh, you have the most beautiful hair. And we'd start a conversation. The next thing I know, we were having a great time. So that whole I'd rather be dead than red on the head. My mom was right. They were just jealous of me because they knew that I was going to get to grow up and experience the redhead chasers. Yes, the ginger chasers. That's right. They're out there. Ask any redhead. We know what we're talking about. Yes, there are ladies out there who specifically love the redheads, especially if the drapes match the carpets. I mean, you know what I mean? The carpets match the drapes. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Women love that. There are some women who just love that. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting off here. Robin says, I'm still here. She probably wishes she wasn't here after I've got into this conversation. Stocks Family Farm said, I'm married to one. Yep. I totally get that. But Robin, getting back to Monique Despain, she was a JAG officer. She's well overqualified for this position, much qualified, much more so than Val Hoyle. I think she's going to do great work. I am really hoping she is going to win. She is the one horse race here that I think could actually do this. I think this is I shouldn't say a one horse race. There's a couple of horses in this, but I think Monique's going to do a good job against Val Hoyle. I just got a feeling. I think Val Hoyle has screwed up so much. Maybe as Republicans and some of the Democrats can get together and say, hey, we don't want someone out there with all that motor money. We got that motor money. So that's who I'm voting for Monique Despain, and I endorse Monique. I think she's a great lady. I completely endorse her. And of course, for U.S. Senate, I'm voting for Joe Ray Perkins. I would vote for Almond, but I'm trying to defeat a certain senator who's running in that race. So I definitely want to vote for somebody who's actually going to be able to pull that off. And I would vote for Almond. I'm hoping he's going to run again. We'll get him in, and we got to work on his campaigning. I think he has great potential, but we got to work on his campaigning. He's got a lot of bite. He needs a little more substance to that bite. So we'll work on that. So Joe Ray Perkins for the U.S. Senate. I'm voting for her. Merkley, I'll be honest with you, Robin. It don't matter who you vote for in this category. None of the people, including Joe Ray, the person I'm voting for, the person I endorse, none of them are going to be able to beat Merkley. Merkley is a powerhouse in the state of Oregon. Yes, he is the best representative New York has here in Oregon, and we are going to be stuck with him again. I've got news for you. So I myself, I don't think we should put much stock into this race. If Joe Ray wins, I'm going to campaign for her. It'd be nice to have her win and Deal win, and then I can campaign together with both campaigns, and it would be great. But we'll see. We'll see what's happening. We got a bright future ahead of us, and we'll find out tomorrow. Hopefully all of you can make it out to the ballot bash. Stocks Family Farm says she was really nice when I met her too. Yeah, usually, yeah. I don't know. Redheaded women can be dangerous. I got a lot of redheaded women cousins. And one thing I would never go out with is a redhead. I'm sorry. As a redhead, I would never go out with a redhead. I'm sure I offended somebody out there. I don't mean that the redheads aren't good people. Women, redheads aren't good people. I'm just saying we know our temperament. Redheads have a certain temperament. It's not good for two redheads to get together. And plus, I did have a redhead girlfriend once when I was really young, and you get that Raggedy Ann and Andy tag. I don't want to be a Raggedy Ann and Andy. No, that's why I like blondes. I married a blonde. Yeah. And of course, Robin says great. And Robin says, go redheads. Yep. I'm all for you on that. Let's see. Whoa, hey, I don't know where that came from. Oh, gee, gosh, let's remove that. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking there. Yeah, let's see if I can get down here, because I did have a couple of other things I got to mention before I get out of here. We are still getting petition signatures. Like I said, I don't know what the hours are going to be this week at the headquarters. I think it's going to be 2 to 6, except for tomorrow because we're having the ballot bash. So that's just something to think about. Okay, here we go. So let me add this to the stage. Tomorrow we're having the BOC meeting. I'm probably going to be testifying at the BOC meeting, complaining that the county should not be wasting their money on mocktails for the Republican Party. And I am a Republican, but yet I'm also consistent. I'm consistent. So as a consistent person, I have to be consistent. I have to go down and complain, because I went down and complained when they gave the same money to the all ages drag show prom, which was ridiculous, ludicrous. I don't want to pay for a prom, but I also don't want to pay for the damn Republicans either. And I am a Republican. I think that's ridiculous, but I understood why the committee voted for it, because hey, if they're going to give money to the drag queens, they might as well give money to the conservatives too. Wow. What a thought there. It's called fairness and inclusivity. Of course, I call it theft, because you're using other people's money to pay for your items, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm not mad at the Republicans, and I'm not even mad at the all ages drag show. You know who I'm mad at? I'm mad at the government for allowing these policies to exist. So tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. and Tuesday. So if you stick around after the BOC meeting, then you can head over to the bash afterwards, but you may be waiting for a little while because the bash doesn't start until 5. And then, of course, the City Council of Coos Bay is meeting tomorrow. Let me see if I can get that banner off there, because you ain't going to be able to see that. Wow, that's cut off there. Why is that cut off? Damn, I don't know. But if you could read the bottom there, that would say 6 p.m. Tuesday. That's this May 19th, 2026. This is happening at 6 o'clock at the Coos Bay City Hall, right there in Central. Yeah, very good place to catch all that stuff. And let's see, did I get everything? I think I did. Let me go ahead and remind you guys, I am sponsored. I'm sponsored by 3H Tree Service. We will be doing Where's 3H Tree Service? Well, actually, we won't be doing it next week, because they're going to have a special one on Tuesday. So I'll check for my newspaper, or my Facebook page. My Facebook page, I will share that special Tuesday, Where's 3H Tree Service. So Where's 3H Tree Service? If you need to get rid of those problem trees, they're the people to call. 541-294-1800, 3H Tree Service. They are licensed and bonded. 100-237 is their bond number. And let's see, and of course, Tom and Gigs, great place. If you need to get your automobile fixed, you need tires, you need shocks, you need struts, you need alignment, go to Tom and Gigs, 135 South Shoneman Street, Coos Bay, Oregon. That's in the Empire neighborhood. You can give them a call at 541-888-4660. Give that number a call, and you can find out if your car is travel worthy. Is your car travel worthy? Hell, I don't even know if I'm travel worthy, but I need to find out if my car is travel worthy. So all you have to do is call Tom and Gigs, and they'll check that out for you for free. 541-888-4660. And they also have lift kits and performance accessories. They have drones. Yes, they have drones. They have RC cars, really cool RC cars. Tom and Gigs for all your RC needs. Check out that boat. That is very cool. They've got the Hero Copters. Very cool stuff. They've got planes. They've got more RC cars than you can shake a stick at. And I don't know why you would be shaking a stick at an RC car. But if you are shaking a stick, don't shake it at the Tannerite unless you're 18 years or older, because that's the only way you could purchase Tannerite at Tom and Gigs. and you will be asked to show ID. And speaking of showing ID, my third sponsor is Herbal Choices Cannabis. You do have to be 21 years or older just to get into the building, folks. Just to get into Herbal Choices, you have to be 21 years or older. And you can find out more at the herbalchoices.com website. They do check your ID. There are 5 locations in Charleston, Coos Bay, Bandon, North Bend, and Reedsport. Really great company there. So if you get a chance, I recommend you go and check them out. I also have to give props to Oregon Firearms Federation. They're not my sponsor, but they are the only no compromise gun group in Oregon, oregonfirearms.org, and sign up for the newsletter. Really good stuff Kevin puts out there. Really good stuff. Let's see. I've got one more comment. Robin says, thanks again for all you do to keep us informed. Greatly appreciated. I try every day. Hey, did you hear about this story? I don't know if you guys heard about this story. Let's see if I can share this. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see if I can share this here. Share. Oh, I'm already sharing the screen. I just don't have it up on the here we go. Okay, I want to read this. This is very important. This is why this is important. No, I lost it. Where did it go? Share this tab. That's what I need to do. Okay, so we're going to add this to the stage. This is very important to Oregon, and it should be, because we're one of the largest trading partners with China. I don't know whether you knew that. Yeah, we're one of the largest trading partners with China. And so China has a lot of influence over Oregon. Oregon is one of the few states who actually has an Oregon-China Council. Well, I'll tell you what, that may sound good because we make a lot of money selling our products in China, which is a great thing. But unfortunately, China is also having a lot of undue influence on our K through 12 and higher education schools. In fact, I believe they gave them over $100 million in the last couple of years to teach Chinese politics. Basically, it's an indoctrination that the Chinese are playing on American schools. And we got to be aware of this, because this is something I've been warning about for over 20 years. And going back to 2010, China declared an economic war against America. That just doesn't go away, folks. And China's not a country that just declares an economic war and says, oh, we were just joking. No, they're fighting this war, but they're fighting it through their spies and through theft and through other means that is very nefarious. And so I want to, once again, I got to read this. I got the report here. You can read along with me if you want, but it was so important. I actually had it printed out here. And let's see. Let me get this on stage. Yes, Los Angeles. The mayor of Arcadia has been charged in federal court with acting as an illegal agent of the People's Republic of China. That's the Justice Department announced today. Eileen Wang, 58, of Arcadia, is charged via information with one count of acting in the United States as an illegal agent of a foreign government, and that's China, the Communist Party. In a related filing, Wang has agreed to plead guilty to the felony count, so we know she's guilty, which comes with a statutory maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. But believe me, federal prison in America is much better than any kind of prison in China. So she's probably happy because, you know, if you fail your spy job here in America, they don't treat you so well when you go back to China. But I continue here. It says Wang was elected in November 2022 to the Arcadia City Council, a 5-person governing body from which the mayor is selected on a rotating basis, which sounds crazy. Doesn't that sound crazy? That's how you get a Chinese spy as your mayor, some kind of crazy system like that. But I continue. It says, individuals in our county who covertly do the bidding of foreign governments undermine our democracy, said First Assistant United States Attorney Bill Aziel. I don't know how you pronounce that. This plea agreement is the latest success in our determination to defend the homeland against Chinese efforts to corrupt our institutions. And they're doing this in Oregon, folks. They're doing this in Oregon with their undue influence on us. This is really bad. I want to continue reading this because this isn't good stuff. It says individuals elected to public office in the United States should act only for the people of the United States that they represent, said Assistant Attorney General for the National Security, John A. Eisenberg. It is deeply concerning that someone who previously received and executed directives from PRC government officials is now in a position of public trust at all, but particularly so because that relationship with the foreign government had never been disclosed. No, but why would she tell us? Why, if you're a spy, what are you going to do? Hey guys, I'm a spy. I'm a spy for China. Come and get me. I maybe that works for Swalwell, the rapist, alleged rapist, Swalwell, who, he had Fang Fang. He was banging Fang Fang. Maybe Fang Fang knew this chick here. Maybe they were all in cahoots. I don't know. But we really got to watch our politicians. But I continue reading here. It says, by her own admission, Eileen Wayne secretly served the interests of the Chinese government, said Assistant Director Roman Rozhavsky of the FBI's Counterintelligence and Espionage Division. Let this serve as a clear warning. Individuals who act on behalf of foreign governments to influence our democracy will be identified, investigated, and brought to justice, unlike the Biden administration, who didn't bring anyone to justice. No, protecting the rule of law and the transparency of our democratic process remains at the core of the FBI's mission, and we will continue working alongside our partners to safeguard the integrity of our mission, and we will continue working our elections and keep hostile actors from undermining the voices of the American people, which they should. We don't want any hostile actors. We already have hostile actors. Hell, Robert De Niro is a hostile actor. We need to get rid of Robert De Niro. Maybe he works for the CCP. I don't know. You figure it out. But it says all Americans should be alarmed to learn an elected official was brazenly spreading propaganda on behalf of the Chinese government, said Patrick Grandy, the assistant director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles field office. So there was a lot of people involved. Let me skip this a little bit. It says, according to her plea agreement from the late 2020 through 2022, Wang and Yoani Mike's son, 65, of Chino Hills, worked at the direction and control of the PRC, that's the commie government in China, government officials, and coordinated with U.S.-based individuals to promote the PRC's interests by, among other things, promoting pro-PRC propaganda in the United States. Son is serving a 4-year federal prison sentence after he pleaded guilty in October 2025 to acting as an illegal agent of a foreign government. Now, even going back, I think 20 years, and I want to share this tab. Let me make sure it's sharing now. This is a survey by the Centers for Strategic and International Studies, and a survey of Chinese espionage in the United States since 2000. We're going back 26 years ago. This updated survey is based on publicly available information and lists 224 reported instances of Chinese espionage directed at the United States since 2000. It does not include espionage against other countries, against U.S. firms or persons located in China, nor the many cases involving attempts to smuggle controlled items from the U.S. to China using usually munitions or control technologies, or the more than 1,200 cases of intellectual property theft lawsuits brought by U.S. companies against Chinese entities in either the U.S. or China. So, folks, we've got a problem. We've got a problem. China's got their claws into the West Coast, especially. And like I said, we have this China this Oregon-China Council. Most states don't have a state China council. They just don't have that. I don't think they have that in Texas. I could be wrong, but I haven't found it. So it's just irritating that that they have so much influence over Oregon, because Oregon, we're a poor state and we're getting poorer by the minute as long as the Democrats are in control, and the Democrats aren't anything different than the Chinese Communist Party. So, they're in cahoots, I'm sure, on many different levels. But there was another one here. I want to share this tab. Threat snapshot, CCP espionage repression on the U.S. soil. And this is updated. The Chinese snapshot reveals 60 plus cases since 2021. Washington, D.C. Today, the House Committee on Homeland Security released the updated China threat snapshot, detailing more than 60 cases of espionage conducted by the Chinese Communist Party on U.S. soil in the past 4 years, including the transmission of sensitive military information, theft of trade secrets, use of transitional repression operations, and obstruction of justice. Wow. So if you go to homeland.house.gov and check out the threat snapshot of the coups or the Chinese Communist Party, read this China threat snapshot. I'm sure it's been updated from 2021. But yeah, we are in a world of hurt if we don't start recognizing who our real enemies are. And China is one of our enemies. Not that we want them to be our enemies. They have made us their enemies by declaring an economic war on us going back to 2010. We didn't declare war on them. They declared war on us. It's not our fault. We don't want this fight. I really don't. But we have to protect ourselves. And then I go to another story. Let's see, where was this other story? Well, I can pretty much tell you. It was a story about how they have found Chinese police stations. Can you believe this? Chinese police stations. Now, I first heard of this back last year about these Chinese police stations, where they were in several big major cities. And when it was reported, the fake news, the media came out and said, oh no, that's a conspiracy theory. You all are a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Well, I don't know. I doubt it. Every conspiracy theory I've ever had has come true, especially since 2020. But a federal judge would disagree with you. For months, critics dismissed the idea of a secret Chinese police operating on U.S. soil as a pure paranoia. We're all paranoid. Now, a federal jury in Brooklyn has convicted Bronx resident Harry Liu for doing exactly that. He ran an unregistered overseas police station right in Manhattan's Chinatown, operating directly on behalf of the China's Ministry of Public Security, or as I like to call them, the commies, the Chinese communists. Yes, the station's mission: monitor, harass, and intimidate Chinese dissidents living in America. How do you like that, folks? When the FBI raided the site, Liu deleted online messages containing explicit instructions from Beijing. The Department of Justice calls this the first criminal case of its kind and says more prosecutions are coming as the U.S. finally cracks down on foreign influence operations. This matters. Why? Because sovereignty matters, especially here in Oregon. Our state here in Oregon, America's largest trading partner with China. China is Oregon's largest export market. Can you believe that? China is Oregon's largest export market, with nearly $6 billion in goods flowing from here, Oregon, to China each year. $6 billion, that's billion with a B, and a healthy trade surplus that supports thousands of jobs in electronics, agriculture, and manufacturing. Now, this is good. This is good to have this kind of trade. However, what we're getting in return is propaganda, spying on us, spying on our business, stealing our intellectual property, and then influencing our children, the youth of this country, through the K through 12 and higher education, and by leaking into our culture. That's right. They use TikTok, they use social media to try to encourage kids to do things that just aren't really good. Like that fentanyl. That's China, China via Mexico. So that's what we're dealing with here. So we have to be very careful here in Oregon because we know this is happening. This is not something that's being made up. This is not a conspiracy theory. I just showed you several reports going back from 2000 all the way up to the current date where the federal government is warning us about the invasion of Chinese espionage and other spies happening here on our shores. So it's something to consider, folks, something very serious to consider. So I just wanted to end with that story because I like to end on an up note. So that's our up note tonight. Beware of those Chinese spies. But remember, tomorrow is the election. That's right. Tomorrow is the election, and we are having an election day bash. We're having it at the Coquille Community Center. There it is. That's right. Election night ballot bash. So come out tomorrow night at the Coquille Community Center from 5 to 10 o'clock. We've got pizza. We got prizes. We got a shitload of stuff happening. You don't want to miss it. So bring out the friends, the family. We're going to do face painting. Hell, we're going to have mocktails paid for by you, the taxpayers, suckers. So come on out to the election night bash. Bring your ballot, and we're going to walk over to the clerk around 7 o'clock and dump off all our ballots in protest that we no longer vote at our polling places. So there you go, folks. Thank you for joining me. Join me for the Friday night rant because I can guarantee you this Friday night is going to be fabulous because it's going to be after the election. And I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of upset candidates and a lot of happy candidates who are going to want to rant on Friday night. So until then, carry on, Coos County. Carry on.